taste.
Oh, so you can call me with complaints if you want.
I'm first.
I was on the board when we hired Edward. Boy, did I get phone calls. Oh, the things people say when the community of oneness. It's an honor to have you in the room, Rev. It's good to see you.
Good to be here.
I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. This man I've known for years. He's a Christian man, and I must say, and you've kind of heard me say this before, so excuse me, Rev, back there, but it's sometimes a pleasure and refreshing for me to have conversations with people who aren't religious scientists. Because one of the layers that we can put in the way of meeting ourselves can be our teaching. Do you know what I mean? Our dogma, our doctrines, our beliefs. I know this is true. But this man came to me, and he's one of those Christians that we all think should be, we want Christians to be this way. He's an open, loving heart. And he came to me with an issue that he has been talking to me in his world about for years and years, this situation that he struggles in. And he has many people in his life, including his family, that go, leave. And he stays in, and he's been working and working and working and working to find his way. And so we were having this conversation, and he had just been told again by his son, leave in this situation. And he was talking about it, and I asked him, do you have a fear? It's not mine to tell you whether you should leave your situation in your life or not, to quit this or that, but is there a fear of letting go? What if you were to just let go right now? And he kept arguing and defending, and no, it's not that, and it's not that, and I kept just prodding and inquiring, what is it? What is the resistance? And he kept arguing and fighting with me, and I finally pointed out, I've never had you struggle. What are you defending here? And all of a sudden, this man who's got a very wide open heart, is known as a very loving man, you can feel his love, dropped down into himself right where he was. Now, when I have pointed out and have asked, and one of the things I ask clients all the time is, how are you feeling? What's the feeling that's being generated? He does this thing that I noticed a lot of us do. He would describe the situation of his feeling instead of feeling it. To me, you know what I'm talking about? No, I kind of feel like this.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he just started crying. I've known this man for years, and it was the first time I just felt him and seen him just fall apart in tears. And all of a sudden, he dropped into that place that he knew about, I knew about. We had talked about that place of, I feel like something's wrong with me if I quit. I don't know that I'm okay. But he cried. He just kept crying, and we kept talking a little bit, but he was crying. And when he stopped in the tears, there was just this open tenderness. And there was just a clarity right there. Today, we are continuing in this conversation of interconnectivity, sort of the basis of what this teaching is, this teaching of oneness. But we're talking about letting go, a new way of being together. And I think a lot, and I experience a lot with myself and with people I'm with in either relationship or sitting with as client or teacher, the barriers and the defenses we put between us and the relating. Do you know what I'm talking about? That we meet people and approach people already knowing who they are, how they should be, what we wish they would do, what's wrong with them, or what we like about them. We're nice people too. And we have that same sense in ourselves. And we're pretty fixed in it. This idea of letting go, I was thinking, what do we need to let go of? It's like, oh my goodness, let's see, our judgment, opinions, our agenda of how things should be, our blame, our resentment. Oh, there's so much stuff we could let go of. I have read so often in papers, treatments by students. Now, you may have prayed this way. I'm sure that there was a time I might have said this in a prayer. So forgive me, I'm not pointing a finger at you, but I read this very innocent and well-intentioned. I now release everything that's in the way of me having everything I want in the world. And I just think, wouldn't it be nice if we could do that? What does that mean to let go? Can we just declare, okay, I'm done. I won't ever do that. I'm not going to judge anymore. Okay, I'm not going to have opinions anymore. I'm not going to care how it happens. It's like, no, it isn't that way. And so that meeting ourselves, like my friend met himself, and just allowing ourselves to be where we are and to actually feel what is present here with me, which allows us to be present with what's in whom is before us. It's a big journey. It's the walk of life, really, not something we do and then we're free and we're clear. I heard somebody talking about awakening the other day so often, and as an old Buddhist, it's like this idea of waking up as if it's this final thing. Now I'm awake, now I'm free, and realizing that awakening is something we do moment by moment. Letting go is something we do moment by moment. And one of the steps in letting go is recognizing where we're not. It's what we did in the conversation, my friend and I. Where am I holding on? Where do I have a judgment? Where are those thoughts, beliefs? Where is my agenda that says things should be otherwise? I'm reading Norman Fisher. He's a great Buddhist teacher and poet. And he wrote a book called The World Could Be Otherwise. Just hearing that title, it's like, oh, yes. And really, that's what his whole direction of the book is about, is not to change the world, but to bring us in to that, I talked about that last month, of that fresh breath, that opening that happens in us, which is really all our teaching's about. What do I need to shift in me? Where am I holding on? What are the barriers in me that have me struggling with the way life is? Now, some of you may have some challenges with the way life is right now. Anybody in this room challenged by the way the world is? And some of you may not. One of the things that I realized working with people is that it feels easier for me. People feel more available, not when their life is working, everything's happy, I have my stuff together. When people feel available is when they're mostly challenged and distressed and they can't see the way through. You with me? When we are vulnerable and when we're scared. From that place, I might say what's happening in the world right now is a giant call to prayer for all of us. A giant shifting within ourselves, not to pretend, to make nice, to talk nice. You know, I'm not about talking nice and pretending things are nice. But to meet what is in our personal lives and in our world and be in that openness, that love, that availability, and as my friend showed, in that tenderness. Because I realized one of the obstacles, one of the big things, barriers that we might want to let go of are those things that keep us from feeling the tenderness and the fragility of our hearts. Yes, because it feels scary sometimes to meet what is. You know, we had another member of our community making their transition. Many people, I had 5 close people in my world die last year in 4 months' time. It's like we are passing in life. This whole expression, you know, we talk about having conditions. Our whole life experience as a human being is a condition, is it not? It's a conditional thing that's moving and shifting. To be with that is a tender experience. Now, as uncomfortable as meeting and feeling that tenderness of our human heart can be, it is that opening, that same opening my friend felt that created that relief, that opening to clarity, that knowing that no matter what, he was okay. The letting go of or the moving forward. It's not about accepting what is in life and then just sitting down on the job of living. It's about opening so that we can bring openness, so that what we're bringing isn't our past story, agenda, our opinions, our judgment, things should be otherwise. Because if we're saying things should be otherwise than what it is right now, we're really saying the divine expression is messing up here. Is that true? I mean, if there's only one, then this is the one in expression. And we're called to live in that from the highest, clearest place we can. So we are really talking about letting go of what are the barriers right now for me. When I sat with this letting go, and I thought about it, it's like judgment and attitudes comes up for me, maybe because I have lots of them. But I thought, you know, the ultimate thing that we're letting go of, this may be a little scary for some of you, is control. It's letting go of the idea that I'm in charge of all of this. That I'm going to make it all just the way I want. Just being here. We're called to do that thing that Ernest Holmes talks about, surrendering over to the will. Thy will be done. Or as they say in the 12-step movement, it's like turning over to higher power. That part of our lives in 12-step, they talk about, well, I have no power, I have no control over my addiction, so I turn that over. We have no control over anything in life. Except for what's happening right here and how I be here. So that letting go allows us to recognize not to get a nicer relationship as the goal, but to recognize we are totally, completely in relationship all the time, are we not? We're in relationship with the earth and the powers that hold us on the earth. We're in relationship with the air. We share breath with all the plant life on the planet. Coming up this week, I had my friend Victoria, thank you, Victoria, to be my driver up here, because this is the 2nd month. I have this elbow thing that I had surgery 15 years ago, and it's sort of giving me grief. Now I can drive at home, and I probably could drive 128, but turning the wheel isn't my strong suit right now. So I'm thinking 128 is probably not the best place for me to test out my elbow. And so I had Victoria come up. Last month, I luckily had friends that told me they were coming up to hear my talk. So all I had to say, oh, come pick me up. We'll go up together. But this time I had to reach out and ask somebody. It was hard for me. Is that hard for anybody to ask for help? You know, and I'm like, I got help, and I knew that she loved Mendocino. I knew that she would be okay with hearing my talk, that she likes me. She likes listening to me. And so I thought, I thought, well, this is okay, so I could ask her. But even after I asked her, and she so willingly, graciously said, yes, of course, without reservation, my brain's going, oh, yeah, but I think I can do this. Oh, ouch, and I'm trying to talk myself out of it. I'm trying to convince myself that I can be independent, that I don't need to put on or need anybody else. And while I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about calling her and calling it off, all of a sudden I remembered our talk today and I started laughing. Oh, letting go, oh, right. Because the fact is, I talk to a lot of people about this idea of independence, particularly as we get older. Does anybody need help now? Is anybody finding they need help opening that jar, sometimes standing up? I mean, we need help, but the fact is, as much as we revere our independence in our individual, we celebrate the individual in this culture, in this community. We're never individual. Ernest Holmes said, there are no individuals. In oneness, there are no separate selves. As Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, said, we are always and only interdependent. Always, because my life depends on the people and the things that support me having life. And yet my mind, this story about me being independent, runs me. Yes, we want to be able to do everything we want to be able to do. We don't want to ask. And yet asking is the nature of life. The tree doesn't ever have to ask the soil, oh, do you think I could borrow some minerals and some water? No. And the fact is, with all the delusion that we're separate and we're different from the tree, we are just as dependent on life to support everything we are. We are. So that ultimate letting go is that letting go of I'm a separate being. Ernest Holmes says the only thing we're ever really healing is the illusion, the appearance of separation. Victoria allowed me to, well, she took me because she's driving. We went down to the headlands and walked in the headlands and got rained on a little bit, but watching the beautiful waves, and I was thinking, we are that same fluidity. We really are on a particular energetic level. We are that. And she described an experience she just had recently. She was telling me about how she had been sitting and she watched an accident. And she watched the emergency vehicle showing up and the people showing up and all these parts coming together. And then she watched them all going away. And she could see it like the patterns of our lives, that dance, because that's what we're doing. We're all dancing together. We don't need to struggle to be independent. We're not. To recognize we are together. That's why we gather in community. We hold each other's hands. We love each other. I've been doing jigsaw puzzles with some friends of mine, and there's one jigsaw puzzle I'll confess, we just got rid of it and put it back in the box because it was like, it was mostly pink. It was pink. And it had these weird shapes. I've done lots of jigsaw puzzles, these weird shapes. You pick them up and you go, oh, I can't even like describe the shape of this. And it had false edges that looked like they were part of the edge, but they weren't really. And I thought, that's just how life is. And yet every single piece fits into the tapestry. And that's how we are. Every single one of us in all that we're experiencing are part of it. We may not understand it. We may not be able to see it, but something is and does. And we're letting go into that. So in part of the Norman Fisher's book that I love, I recommend. It's a beautiful book. He talks about one of the Buddhist directions. He describes how the hand will naturally go to the foot to pull out a splinter without a thought. It's not, I'm going to help you by taking this splinter out. Now thank me for it. The foot is not feeling less than. And that suggestion that we recognize we are that in the activity of our life. As natural as can be, when we stop and meet ourselves and come home to that wholeness of being, that silence, that stillness that lives under all our story and all our thinking and all our agenda. It's like right here, life naturally moves through us in that ours is to do. Now, in some of you, and sometimes in our life, because it changes, it may be a fierce activity. Sometimes it might be a tender word or touch. Sometimes it might just be the stillness, the quiet of prayer and being peace and love. It's going to show up uniquely in every piece and every part are part of the tapestry. We're letting go of working to fret and resist what's happening out here and listening and responding naturally with who and what we are right here. That's our practice. That's the bigger understanding of this teaching, that life knows how to move each of us uniquely because it is living and creating and opening and awakening and expressing as each of us right now. And so let's just stop and do that thing that we call spiritual mind treatment. Call it spiritual alignment, call it prayer, call it what you will. Truly, we are stopping to recognize that one presence, that one intelligence right here. Fully abiding in its wholeness, holding and filling and unfolding in and through and as all life. It is that animates each individualized expression. Everything, everyone made of and by that one source. It is that holds and unfolds it uniquely and together as one creation, one universe, one life right here. This thing called God, Spirit, the divine, named and unnamed. It is the very ground of being. And it is wholly, completely present right here. Nothing broken, nothing missing, no one left out of this wholeness of life, of this godness, this goodness, right here. And so I simply stop and recognize, I open to this truth. Knowing it in this moment anew. Knowing it as the very life of my life, the source of all that I am in my inner stillness and that peace and that nature of light and love and in every activity, in every cell, breathing every breath and expressing through all that I am, all that I do. For there is no separation between me and this one source. And so I know it as the truth of each and every one here, each and every one hearing this word. I know it as the truth of life itself, everywhere. It is a divine unfolding beyond human perception, beyond all human knowing of this and that, good and bad, beyond our imagining, because it is so beyond our unique expression, our unique lifetime. It is infinite. It is eternal. And so I turn over. I let go into that divine embrace. We are held, supported, sustained. We are guided, directed by that intelligence that moves this universe itself. And so I open, I listen, and I allow that presence to simply be, to express, to move my feet, to speak my words, and to be that warm embrace, holding all that I am, all that we are right now. Oh, so grateful for this call home in conscious awareness. So grateful for this presence of life itself. And in gratitude for this call, in gratitude for this answer, right here, known and done by that that is and knows and does all things. I simply let go. I let this be. And so it is. Amen.